There is plenty to say and to wonder about Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and the Secretary of State job. And, well, before we head down that rabbit hole, because we are going to go there with Pulitzer Prize-winning author Connie Schultz, we begin tonight with actual breaking news, election style. The recount began today of the vote in Minnesota's critical Senate contest between Democrat Al Franken and Republican incumbent Norm Coleman. With 58 seats in the upper chamber of Congress already gone blue or bluish in two cases, the remaining races in Minnesota and Georgia are perceived as critical to both parties. The breaking news, let's get to it. From day one of the Minnesota recount, here's where we stand. With 23% of the precincts reporting, Senator Coleman is ahead with 43.25%, while Al Franken is close behind with 39.99%. Going to today's recount, GOP incumbent Norm Coleman held a 215-vote lead over Al Franken, or a 0.008%, if you want to be all precise about it. Safe to call tonight's results way too early to call. Franken hit Capitol Hill this afternoon to brief Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid and Senator Dianne Feinstein about the state of the race, calling himself, quote, cautiously optimistic about his chances of winning. While Franken toured what he hopes will be his new digs, election workers back home in Minnesota started the grueling recount process. Hand recount, retabulating more than 2.9 million ballots across the state, one by one. They have until December 5th to complete the recount. Want to know how laborious the process is and just how seriously they're taking it? Here are the ground rules in Ramsey County, which includes the capital city of St. Paul. In total, they have 300,000 ballots to count. The mandate is to count 30,000 ballots each day, which would be one ballot every 5 seconds for each counter. Only county election employees or election judges may touch the ballots. No food and drink are allowed, and absolutely no talking. Makes the SATs sound like a party. Here's hoping no repeat of the Florida hanging Chad affair in 2000, because I still can't get this guy out of my head. The other state still on our election minds, Georgia, where the post-election lingo is runoff, not recount, since neither incumbent, GOP Senator Saxby Chambliss, nor his Democratic challenger, Jim Martin, managed to get more than 50% of the vote the first time around. Today, Martin called in the Democratic big gun, former President Bill Clinton, who made his best sales pitch for what could be the key race in the Democratic hunt for 60 seats in the Senate.
This is not about Republican and Democrat. It's about yesterday and tomorrow. It's about the bridge against the firewall. And I want you to go home tonight thinking about that, and I want you to think about it every time you got a free hour between now and December 2nd, that you could go out and make phone calls or knock on doors or do something to tell people Jim Martin ought to be the senator from Georgia. He's the kind of person we can respect and honor and support and be proud of.
Voters in Georgia head back to the polls for a runoff election on December 2nd, meaning that whole Election Day thing they had earlier this month was more of a dry run, a practice, if you will. And then there's Alaska, which up until last night found itself in the undecided category, but now has an apparent winner, and he is Democratic challenger and Anchorage Mayor Mark Begich, who defeated incumbent GOP Senator and convicted felon, by the way, Ted Stevens, the longest-serving Republican in Senate history. Begich will become the first Democrat to represent Alaska in the Senate in nearly 30 years. Had Begich lost to Stevens, the Democratic quest for the filibuster-proof 60-seat majority in the Senate would have been a moot point, but Begich won. They're now at 58 with the two independents. In the quasi-baseball pennant race that is the drive for 60 seats, the Democrats are mathematically alive, 2 away with 2 to play. We'll talk about what 60 Senate seat actually means with Lawrence O'Donnell. We'll do that in just a minute. But first, joining us from Alaska, Senator-elect Mark Begich. First of all, congratulations on your victory. Thanks for being with us.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I'm honored to be on the show today.
Big fan of your state. Some of the best hiking in the Chugach Mountains I've ever been on.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful state and a lot of territory. When people come and visit their first time, they want to come back multiple times because there's so much to see up here. But it's a great state and it's a great day today.
Senator Stevens, he's an institution in your state. He was involved in politics before Alaska was a state. The airport's named after him in Anchorage. So how much responsibility do you feel replacing him?
Well, first off, there's a lot of years, 40 years of service he had for our state, and we respect him for that. But the reality is Alaska was changing, and people were seeing a different kind of state. People were staying here, living here, retiring here. And what I saw was this constant change that was going on around the state. So there's a lot of new opportunities for our state. When I think about the energy crisis we face in this country and how Alaska can be part of that equation, or the issues we face and how we deliver health care throughout our very rural communities. So in a lot of ways, there's a lot to follow through on, but there's a lot of new ideas that Alaskans have been telling me about since I've been on the campaign trail for the last 6 months. So I'm excited about it. It's an unbelievable opportunity, and at the same time, we respect his service, but it is now, the Alaskans have spoken, and it's time to move forward.
Now, Senator Stevens was almost reelected, even though he was convicted on 7 felony counts. Do you feel you have a mandate from Alaska voters?
Well, I can only tell you my race in 2003 for mayor, I won that with 18 votes. So winning with over 3,700 votes is in Alaska politics is somewhat a landslide. So I appreciate the support. I'm humbled by how much we receive throughout the state. But every day I'll be working to earn the votes and the continued support of Alaskans. So you never take anything for granted. Like this race, I always kept saying it will be close. I never took anything for granted. And now being elected to the U.S. Senate, I'll be working every day to make sure that all Alaskans are heard in Washington, D.C. So, you never take any race, no matter what your percentages are, as any mandate. You work hard every single day to prove up on what you said you would do.
And you will likely be working hard, or at least working closely with Governor Palin. Is she someone you think you can work closely with?
Absolutely. As mayor, I worked with her in regards to many of the issues we had here in Anchorage with road projects and revenue sharing and many of the issues we faced as the largest city in Alaska. Also, just this morning, I saw her at an event we were at together. She congratulated me, and we're planning to meet over the next 2 weeks to talk about Alaska's issues and how we can join together to make sure Alaska's issues are heard on the national front, but also what I can do from the federal end to ensure that Alaska continues to grow as it is. So I see a great opportunity.
What was the temperature up there today?
Well, it varied a little bit. I think we're in the 15 to 20 range today. Last night when I did an interview, it was 7 degrees. So, but we had a great sunset tonight, and if you've ever seen an Alaskan sunset in the winter, it's unbelievable. It's, as I would tell my son, it's Santa Claus making cookies when you see the red and orange along the cloud line.
And it probably happens around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, something like that at this point.
It happens a little earlier than you're probably used to where you are. Yes, it does.
Well, stay warm. Alaska Senator-elect Mark Begich, thank you for your time tonight, and congratulations, sir.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.